So today's guest is one of the most respected minds in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, both on the mats and as a coach. Paul Schreiner is a black belt under Claudio França and has spent decades immersed in the art of Jiu-Jitsu, originally from Santa Cruz, California.
That's right.
Okay. He started training in the mid-'90s after injuries from rugby and surfing led him to the gentle art. Is that correct?
That's right. Yeah.
Nice. And despite serious setbacks, including multiple knee injuries and life-threatening staph infection, Paul stayed the course and earned his black belt in 2007. For over a decade, he was a key part of the world-famous Marcelo Garcia Academy in New York City.
So 15 years.
15 years. I'm like, you know, like one of the top schools of all time. You know, history books of jiu-jitsu, and Paul is known for his clear, methodical teaching style and deep understanding of pressure passing, half guard, and connected reactions.
That's right.
Pretty good.
That's good. That's great.
Brother, thank you so much for coming up and hanging out. It's so great to have you here. And just opened up Frogtown Jiu-Jitsu in Frogtown, in Los Angeles, California. 6 months ago.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for coming on the show and hanging out.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Yeah, man. It's been when did you come out here? It was like 5-6 years ago, more.
I think it was like 10 years ago.
10 years ago, you came out to LA. You did a little seminar, right, at our gym.
Yeah.
And Legacy, and man, still use some of the stuff like the Jedi mind trick, and you know.
Yeah, I'm still doing the same thing.
It works, right?
That's right. You were kind of half guard.
Yeah.
Right? Deep half.
I scored. I was like, I was the first guy to do it. I think, you know, deep half. You know, this guy named Jean Malone. Remember Jean Malone?
Yeah, Jean Malone. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, he was doing it, and he's like after me, but I was one of the first guys to do it, and really, you know, did it and from blue belt to black belt.
Yeah, the first people I saw play deep half were you.
Can you hear it, Kevin?
Yeah. Jean Malone, who I remember him going to deep half though, like from like sit up guard, and then he'd fall back into it.
Yeah.
And then Kai Borg, who he's Hawaiian.
Wow,
he won,
yeah.
I think he won Worlds at Brown in 97, 98, something like that.
And I was looking up the adult. Was it 2000, 2001?
What's that?
You got the Worlds. You got like a bronze.
I got bronze at brown belt in I think 2006.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It was
You're because I was like a little bit before you, right?
Yeah.
And then and then
I saw you compete. I think you did 2 matches with Cameron Earl at the U.S. Open. That was the
Claudio in Santa Cruz.
Yeah, I mean at the
was
time,
one of the major tournaments in the country.
It was basically that and Pans were the biggest tournaments in the country. Yeah, and there was like whispers of like, oh, he trains by himself in New Mexico. He's just back from Brazil. And the super technical matches.
Yeah. I tried to break my foot, you know.
Yeah, I mean, I remember at that time that was like one of the first matches that I saw that I didn't understand anything that was happening like at the time. I think Cameron was trying to go to your back or something? And then he like jumped on your leg, and I think
I went for his foot first.
You went for his foot first.
I think I was down by a couple of points, and I was like, and then time was running out, so I jumped on his foot and, you know, committed to breaking his foot, and then he jumped on mine. You know, Cameron's Cameron.
Yeah, you had that two like kind of like matching toe hold.
Yeah. And my foot, like, you know, but I was like, I'm gonna get him.
Yeah.
And I was walking funny that night for sure. You know. Oh my God! I remember Gordo's brother Gorginho was there, and he's like, "Oh my God!" And I did doing the open. He was just coaching. You know?
I think Gorginho, he like the year before, maybe it was that year. I think it was the year or two before. He fought like an Aikido guy. Who
at U.S. Open?
Yeah, he showed up and demanded to have a match in the black belt division. Gorginho Armocked him.
What a different time, right?
And also, what's the? I'm forgetting his name. He's a black belt. Teaches like really traditional jiu-jitsu. Artist, like ex-Marine. He's like a Hickson and Machado guy. Chris, what's his last name? I think it's Chris.
Hickson black belt.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think he got his black belt from Hickson, but like trained with Hickson. He's here he's in South Bay. Is it not
Chris?
Chris Howder.
Chris Howder, yeah,
Chris
yeah,
Howder.
yeah.
Yeah, he had a match there. That was like one of the first
U.S. Open, yeah.
One of the first black belt matches I saw was him. So yeah, dating myself, but.
And Garth Taylor, right, was one of the OG. He was my generation of competitors.
And he was really my coach. Like Garth was.
That's what I was, because Paul, you brought. Oh my God, what's your brother's name? Quinn moved to New Mexico. Went to college there.
Yeah, and he was my brother was. We have different dad, Quinn Mulhern, but he was
different last name.
And
he's Paul Schreiner's brother. Oh, wow, okay.
Yeah, and he went to St. John's, New Mexico, and then trained with you guys. I think you were there for a bit, and
then I moved away. Yeah.
Yeah, and then
she started with one of my students with CJ. She was like the first like American world champ, blue belt.
Okay, and then and you had Homo went there for a while, I think.
Yeah, had guys coming through.
Yeah, so
the who's who, in little Santa Fe, New Mexico, a town of 60,000 people.
But it was like one of the hotbeds, right, at that time. I mean, because you came from there, and then you had Homo out there, and
Tusa did his work visa, and he ended up staying out there.
Yeah. Well, he was in Santa Fe too, or just
he was. He ended up in Albuquerque,
Yeah.
And he ended up moving to Albuquerque, and he ended up like becoming a partner, and taking over the gyms and stuff, and running everything.
Yeah, and then my brother went the MMA route, fought in King of the Cage, which was I think the big promotion in New Mexico at the time, or the local promotion, and ended up becoming the champ at King of the Cage and held that for a while, and then went to Strike Force, and then from Strike Force had 2 fights in the UFC, and then decided he didn't want to do.
Yeah, he trained with one of my first black belt, Tom Pless.
That's right.
That was his mentor, and kind of followed the similar path of mine, right, with King of the Cage and using jiu-jitsu and.
Man, I forgot you fought MMA, but yeah, your match with.
Javier Vasquez.
Yeah, tell me about that match with Javi, because I watched that with Garth actually at Garth's house, and like
that was a big deal, right? In those days,
away.
Yeah, because I was two world high-low jiu-jitsu guys, right? It wasn't that common for that to happen.
Yeah,
and it was the same night as BJ Penn and Carl Uno's second fight,
but different card, right? Or a different event?
That was in the UFC.
Oh, yeah.
And King of the Cage was like it was on par with UFC back in those days, right?
But that was King of the Cage.
That was King of the Cage, right? But it was on pay-per-view. And I don't know if it's true or not, but supposedly, got more people, at least in the jiu-jitsu community, more hype, right? Because it was exciting. Like we were all like all over the place, right?
Yeah, I'd like to rewatch that actually, because that was also kind of mind
blowing. Some oplata and some different funky positions.
Yeah.
I think I even did like a little half guard sweep,
Yeah.
Took him on top,
Javi hurt his knee, right?
Hurt his knee in the first round.
That's right.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah, it's cool. I got to do a podcast with him because he had cancer.
I didn't know that.
Have you heard of Gerson Therapy?
No.
Yeah. So the Scotty and stuff, they opened up a hospital.
Okay.
And it's like it was
Yeah.
It was the old hospital for that.
Okay.
But he did it, because he's a super disciplined fighter, right? And was able to heal himself with the therapy.
So he was avoided chemo.
Yeah, and he did it, and that's what we talked about. It was pretty cool.
Damn.
But going back to the fight, it was. I just did one fight because King of the Cage was coming to New Mexico. I got my black belt. I wanted to test it out. I never thought I would fight.
That was your first fight.
First fight, and then I sold a bunch of tickets. So they asked me if I wanted to do another one. And then there was like no money. It was like $300. So I was like, man, can you guys pay a little more? It's like, well, if you do this fight, we'll give you a title shot. I was like, all right, fine. And then I just did that, and then he was a big name, right? He had gone to Japan and beat Rumino Sato.
Oh, that's right.
Rumino Sato was like the first lightweight MMA kind of superstar, right?
Yeah.
Judo champion, and
I still think that's where a lot of the modern leg lock game came from, was Sato. Like if you look at when that kind of was 10 years ago now, that Danaher's team kind of reintroduced all those techniques to jiu-jitsu. If you look back at like what Sato was doing, it's really similar, like threatening, like leg drag, falling back into saddle positions, and
yeah,
he was way ahead of his time.
Yeah.
I remember Feitosa. Do you remember that match where Sato had like a full highlight performance at some event in Canada? And then,
Yeah, it was a tie, right, or something like that.
Yeah, I think Feitosa maybe won, or it was almost a, it was pretty.
Yeah,
that kind of
yeah.
negated the game a little bit, but
Remember Takanori Gomi?
of course
He was like the best fighter, top fighter in the world, but he made his name off of Rumino Sato, right?
Yeah, I didn't know that.
Yeah. And he
Beat him in MMA. Yeah,
he beat him in Shudo, right?
In Shudo,
yeah.
okay.
But Takanori Gomi was the top MMA fighter.
Yeah.
For a while, right? For the lightweight division.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's crazy. It seems like lifetimes ago.
Yeah, there's a funny story. I remember, I think right after Nick Diaz beat Gomi, he gogo-platted him. You remember that match?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think like Luke Stewart. I don't know if you remember Luke.
Yeah,
he
of
was
course.
a tattoo
Of
artist.
course, from Half.
From
Half,
Half. Like, for me, has the best John Wayne or knee lever sweep. Like, he was unbelievable with that. And then he did this like reversal from bottom side control. If anyone wants to like study those techniques, like I think watch Luke's match with Andre Galvao in MMA and see how effective that stuff was.
We forgot, right? Andre Galvao fought MMA too. Strike Force and everything else.
Old days. But I remember Luke called Nick to congratulate him, and then we watched Nick pick up the phone, like in the ring still, on TV. It's like, no, I can't train Monday. I just fought. But yeah.
Half Gracie and Santa Cruz, man. Those were like hotbeds of jiu-jitsu. Of course, Renzo Gracie in New York City.
Yeah. But we never really got to see the like New York kind of, or the East Coast part of the game. It wasn't until On the Mat made videos where, if they had those highlight videos, whatever they were. That was like the first time I really saw like Matt Serra and the East Coast guys. But yeah, for us, it was mostly half guys that were good that we had matches with, and then seeing the Southern California scene a little bit.
Man, it was. I remember the U.S. Open because I would go out there when I was in the country, and it was always like the Half Gracie like crew. It was kind of like gangland,
Yeah,
like the way they rolled up. How was it for you, like being from Santa Cruz and being part of the Garth Taylor and?
Yeah. We definitely didn't have that vibe.
Right,
yeah,
of course.
Like the half guys would come in all together. It was like the Camarillos.
They try to intimidate you too.
Pins.
They would yell at the refs and I'm gonna
Yeah,
do
I never got
you.
the vibe they were trying to like intimidate. It was funny because I ended up becoming good friends with Dave and with Luke. And stuff.
Yeah,
so
of course.
And then as soon as I met Half, he kind of like totally opened the doors for me to come train whenever I want. And it was like really, really cool. Really welcoming. Obviously, I never saw that crazy side.
Yeah.
I just heard
heard
stories of the crazy side.
Yeah,
but when those dudes would all roll in, it was like, oh shit, yeah. And then Caesar had a few really tough guys too. Who were like Dave Terrell was.
I saw
really
Dave
scary.
Terrell at one of my daughter's wrestling tournament, in Fresno. We're like, hey, Dave. He was going out of the bathroom. I was going to the bathroom. Dave Terrell just ran him, right? We're like, oh shoot, hey, what's up? It's been like 20 years probably.
Yeah.
But he was one of the
I
top.
still wouldn't want to train with them.
tough guys, right? They were the best guys, man, in the world.
They were, yeah.
One of the best guys in the world. I remember when Dave Camarillo went down to Brazil, and he was tapping everybody out, man. All the top black belts, and
and then he fought
beat Fredson Paixão at purple belt. He was the best purple belt in the world at the time.
Yeah. Undefeated, I think, right? And then he went purple to black after that match. Like, he skipped brown belt. And he, it's funny because my girlfriend and I are expecting a baby. And we have
Congratulations.
Thank you. A month. The due date's July 14th. So we're just kind of.
It's my birthday.
Bastille Day too. Yeah,
Bastille Day. Yeah.
We're just
it's a good date.
trying to organize the house, and I found that the cover for that just like yesterday, and I didn't have the DVD in it though of the. I mean, I'm sure you could find it on YouTube now, but it was like that was the same event where Valij fought Hoyce.
Right. We choked him out with the clock choke.
And then and it was BJ that was supposed to fight. BJ was supposed to have the match with Fredson. and something happened. And so I think Dave said Half just showed up at his house and was like, "You're going to Brazil, to fight this guy." And Dave was like, "Okay." Well, went to the airport. Had that match with Fredson, and I think probably would have finished him if he looked like he got a little tired right at the end because he wasn't, preparing for a match. Yeah.
Why do you think the Half Gracie, that first generation of Half Gracie guys were just so great? I mean, BJ Penn, Dave Camarillo, what was the...
I mean, I think they all made each other good, but really Half had demanded that they be good, and Half was training a lot himself at that time. He was, whatever your opinion of that era of the gym was, like he was like very involved with their training and like really hands-on and pushing them to train hard, putting a lot of pressure on them to train hard and win. And that
represent.
It was something that I as a coach, it's like I don't know what their internal chemistry was, or what the dynamic was like there, because
Cameron Earl too, right? And that was at that time.
Yeah, totally. It was like he was one of them too, and there's a few others that were really good. There was a guy Brad, who was really good, and it was just like it was intimidating, like those guys. But that obviously they was able to bring all them together and like create the energy in the room, and
because he created that from. Like in Brazil, you have all the years in there, but he created from these guys or from scratch.
From scratch. Where at a time where people didn't even know what jiu-jitsu was, and he demanded that they were they were training at the highest level. Like when Dave and BJ went to Brazil, like they hadn't, they hadn't been around that before, and it was like they were at the highest level, like super technical. Also, still. Very focused at a time when like sport jiu-jitsu was becoming, I think, like more strategic. With like Novo Nhau was like, I mean, those guys were amazing, but they were like very, very good at playing the rules and staying ahead. Like we were talking about Salo. Yeah, like they were like the
Salo was like the first guy to add like tactics and
the
strategy.
Half guys were all like kill or be killed. Then
that's how it was. That's how it was.
Just hunting submissions the whole time. Didn't care about points. And so like however that they were able to manage that internal chemistry.
What do you think of those days? Because it was like you went in there to submit, you went there to smash, right? And then tactics, and I don't know if did you watch the Worlds this year? Or
yeah. I mean, some of the Worlds, I saw a lot of people saying that they thought the finals were boring. Mm-hmm. I didn't think the finals were boring. I thought there was a couple, matches that were, pretty forgettable and a couple tactical mistakes. But like if you look at like Baby Shark and Pato or something, it's like their level's so high, it just kind of negates itself. So that match was, I thought, super exciting to see how, the even though it wasn't close to a submission or even points, it was like, I thought that was a really entertaining match. Tynan, it would be nice if there was like a rival in his division, like if there was Cade in there, or if Jansen was still at that weight, like if he had that was big
epic,
rival.
Right? That finals match, a few years back,
or Mika, like would be incredible. But Marcelo was here at my gym on Saturday, this past Saturday for a seminar, and
that's how we connected.
yeah, totally. But his he kind of talked a lot about competition mindset for him as part of the seminar, and in a sense his tactics of like trying to manage the time in his favor, and trying to be ahead to control the match from the beginning, from the first grip, not thinking so much about your opponent's game, like focusing on your game, et cetera. But as part of that, he was talking about, like, he's like, I don't know the rules for, I don't think you could focus on the rules and tactics too much. Like, he's like, there's different perspectives there, but he's like, I don't know the rules for Abu Dhabi. He's like, I think a takedown's worth 2 points, but I'm not sure. But he was always like, he's focused on submitting his opponent and that's the way you show you're better,
Yeah, I remember like the old school, like, you know, speaking of Health Gracie, like it's like you go to fight and you go to submit.
Yeah, that's it.
And if you don't submit, like, you know, like he's, even though you won the match, he's like, you know, that wasn't good enough.
And the stakes felt higher then. Like, I feel like a submission at that point would follow you for the rest of your career. You know, like if someone, like you couldn't, if you talked about someone would, you know, like so-and-so is great. The next sentence would be like, yeah, but they tapped to, you know, whatever fighter. And now you see it's, maybe the no-gi has changed that math, or the fact that there's so many events and you'd only really see the best guys like fight each other, you know, at Worlds and then later at Abu Dhabi. But yeah, it was like a different, there was a different pressure on the, you know, on fighting for submission then, and getting beating one of your rivals or getting submitted by one of your rivals.
People ask me, right, about the gi versus no gi, and then you think of IBJJF compared to like an ADCC, right? And I don't know if you remember, like you remember because you competed in them, the Worlds, the Mundials in Brazil. And it was very raw. People were chanting. It's like a soccer stadium. Like, it's just, you know, crazy stuff would happen to you, right?
Yeah.
You know? And part of that is like Margarita, like, you know, I remember I was telling him,
riding
like,
the moped.
Riding the moped. You remember that, right? You remember that. That's what I'm saying, you know? I sent him the video of like, that's how it was, man. That's why it was exciting. We were young guys. That was like, and he threw the girl, the one that represented the moped company, you know, on the back of the thing and rode around the mats, you know?
Yeah, it was insane.
It was insane. You remember that moment, right? It's
Yeah,
like
it
the guy,
insane.
beat everybody's ass and he got the girl, you know? You know? And now it's like, you know, so people we talk about that, and you know, I got stem cells with Mo, right, from the promoter, right, or former promoter of ADCC. I think he is still, right?
I think.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Anyway, I was just talking about the hype, like, you know, how it's very like, you know, you can't celebrate. I remember there was a guy, I forgot his name, but like maybe like 5, 6, 7 years ago, he won in the last second. He jumped off the mat, celebrated with his team.
It's like Ari Farias, maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Maybe.
Yeah.
And then he got back on the mat. They DQ'd him.
Yeah. Yeah, not cool.
It's like, man, like, you know, it's like, talk about killing the energy of the thing.
Yeah.
It's like you want to. It's like primal. It's like you know. It's like that was part of the thing. That's why I made it. That's why it grew so much, right?
Yeah, but I mean, at the same time now, it's like you know, it's a professional sport. Like there's a career path for people, but it lost like that.
I'm just saying. People ask me, and then I'm like, well, you know, it's exciting. That realness, that primal when you're a young guy. Like, you know, you know, yes, I appreciate the professionalism. You know, it was kind of a little bit crazy, right? There was no girls like competing back in those days, right?
Yeah.
Now it's like, you know,
Or it's like one division. They put all the women,
right, like
purple through black.
purple through black.
together.
Yeah, I'm like CJ. She competed. She was in the pan. She got second place with Leticia Ribeiro.
Leticia Ribeiro,
Yeah, she was a black belt and she was a purple belt. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So it's evolved a lot, and it's great, right? For more practitioners, more, you know,
Yeah,
just
to bring
higher
kids
level.
in, yeah. But it lost some of the magic.
Yeah, some of the magic was that, right? And ADCC, it's kept some of the magic, right?
Yeah. CGI.
CGI now, right?
Yeah.
It's like, man, it's good for the sport. At first, because, you know, spent that time with Mo, and I saw how much he was putting into the growth of ADCC, right? I went to the one at the UNLV, like it was amazing. They had the Hall of Fame and the whole thing, right?
What year was that?
Not the last one, but the one before that.
Yeah.
You know, they had the Pride announcer, Bruce Buffer.
Yeah.
It was like, man, I did the first no-gi grappling tournament at some high school, Grappler's Quest, back in 2000. So this is like whatever, how many years ago, 23 years or 12 or 20 years before. And here we are in you know, this big old stadium with, you know, the Pride announcer, the UFC announcer, and, you know, like legit, you know, the Hall of Fame. And I'm like, wow, this is so great to be a part of this whole thing, right?
Yeah.
And see how far it's come. And it was exciting, you know, like, I don't know if it's good but I think at the highest level, yeah, if they go off the mat or whatever, it should be like a little bit raw, right? Not worry about.
I don't know. I'm a fan of the sloped edges.
No, for sure, yeah.
Keeps the action.
100%, 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was like brilliant, right?
Yeah, but it was a different, like,
Like
at
it's not that
Tijuca, it was like just walking into that place and getting to compete there. It felt like you were
pigeons, you know, like you know, it's like
felt like you were walking into the Coliseum.
you're going to war, yeah. Straight up. You're like the Coliseum, yeah. It's like, kill or be killed, you know?
Yeah.
Now there's the UFC Bowl.
UFC Bowl. Oh, yeah, we saw that UFC came out with the UFC BJJ.
The bowl.
The Bowl. Anyway, man, how fun was that buildup of CGI? Man, watching all those crazy Craig Jones videos and
that was
hyping
insane.
things
That
up.
was the best. That was like by far the best event I've ever been to last year. That was so fun. Yeah, it was insane.
And the matches were insane.
The Cade Andrew Tackett match is like, next level.
It was like kind of a mix of the old school, right? Kill or be killed. Like that was the attitude, right?
Mm-hmm.
There was no like playing for points or advantages. It was like, no, be or be killed.
Yeah.
Kill or be killed, right?
Yeah, and Levi's guard was sick. Like seeing Levi's transition to no gi has been like pretty incredible. And like Lachlan, I mean, I think probably has a lot to do with that, like his coaching and his strategy. I mean, he might be the best coach I think out there right now. If you look at the people he's bringing in and getting to that level, and I mean, not Levi, but his other athletes in 3-4 years that are, like elite leg lockers, but they know how to pass guard. They have great guard retention. They have good wrestling. It's like the sport's changing pretty fast, I think, in terms of how they develop talent.
Did you ever see Scott Sonnen? Do you know who he is? Scott Sonnen. He did like the club bells and
Yeah, I mean, he came from a Sambo background, right?
Correct.
Yeah, but I never really had, not
no,
much
like there was
experience.
some articles I saw because he became like a huge mentor of mine. I had some health things and like TACFit. He created the CST, circular strength training, and really
That's
changed my
Scott Sonnen
life.
behind you.
Yeah, there you go with the club bell. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But he has this mastering the saddle.
Yeah, I remember reading about that, or
so-
like hearing about that on forums and stuff, but I never watched it.
And so Eddie Cummings was like, like they would study like his stuff, because he's super technical.
Yeah,
And it's just kind of from Sambo and but he was like really technical the way he was very advanced, right, with the way he approached things.
Yeah.
He wasn't that athletic, so he had to really figure things out,
but I think the rules for leg locks and Sambo are pretty weird, right? Like I'm not entirely sure what they are.
I did one Sambo. It was like a sports Sambo tournament, and I just remember you could do arm bars and leg locks.
Yeah, but I think I don't even know if you could do heel hooks in Sambo.
I think not. Yeah. It was different kind
or
of leg
maybe
locks.
there's but obviously it came from that. I mean, I think that it was like, from my interpretation, at least historically, like that leg lock came from Sambo, came from Rumino Sato, who's probably like there was some
it's like mixed, right?
something there that came from Sambo too, though, and then like I think a lot came from Marcelo, even though he doesn't really do leg locks, in terms of like how he would hand fight to enter the legs, and kind of almost like his guard is a like wrestler's approach to how to fight to get to the legs, but he's just had that architecture of single leg X and X more to sweep and get on top and then play like a pressure game.
It's funny to say the X. Marcelo Garcia was one of the first. They had one of the greatest instructionals, right? Was I forgot what it was. It was like VHS tapes times though.
Yeah, it was right after you
You got it too, right? Everybody got it.
Everyone,
all of Jiu-Jitsu got these
Yeah,
VHS.
Everyone got
His
it.
X Guard series.
Yeah, I think he probably got paid like $3,000 for that. It was
Like literally everybody around the world bought those tapes, the
Yeah.
X Guard tapes.
everyone, yeah.
Even Cameron Earl, who competed against him a couple times, right? Was
Did he?
studying his. Yeah, he told me. Yeah. It's like I got his tapes.
Yeah, I mean, everyone did. Yeah, I remember training with, every once in a while at that time, I'd go up to Fairtex and train with Jake Shields and Gilbert Melendez, and those guys were studying him. I think it really revolutionized, that 2003 performance, kind of like changed people's approach to no gi. Like it looked, and if you look at now, like it looks very modern, like what he was doing, where you look at other champions and from that time in Abu Dhabi, and it doesn't really like look like what we see now. Like maybe Jean-Jacques is still kind of looks modern. Like if you look at his Abu Dhabi run, which I think was 2001.
I remember watching Marcelo at the one at the pyramid, the first one at the pyramid.
2005.
2005.
Yeah.
And his match with Rico Rodriguez, and just man, what a story.
His match with Shinya was great there too. Yeah. I mean, he had a bunch of cool matches. Yeah. Did you train much with? He's also from New Mexico, with Diego.
I've trained with him before because Greg Jackson.
Yeah.
Helped me he was my coach, my corner,
Yeah.
Until I moved out here.
Yeah.
In 2007. So yeah, I did. Yeah. Yeah, he was tough, man. Tough kid, tough guy. He wrestled, right? And then he fell into jiu-jitsu, but he was...
Is that what his background was?
Yeah, just a high school wrestler, right?
Yeah. Yeah, people from New Mexico are tough, too.
Mountains, right? I was in the mountains, and there's nothing else to do but train.
Yeah.
So ended up being like a hotbed, right, for fighters, and a good place to train.
Yeah, if there's nothing else to do, right? Yeah, I'm surprised like John Jones like moved there, but
yeah, the GSP, right, George St. Pierre, like he had the who's who of MMA for a while.
Yeah,
I wanted to ask you about Marcelo Garcia. So you got what was your first contact with him? How did you end up going to New York and all that?
I met. It was a hard motorcycle or something. Yeah. I met Marcelo I went to a seminar right after that 2003 Abu Dhabi. He did a seminar in San Francisco. I think still the only San Francisco seminar he's ever done.
In 2003.
I think it was into 2003, early 2004. Like he came and he went and did like a seminar tour to the States. It was before he really spoke English. And yeah, I just met him at the seminar, and then I would run into him after that. I'd spend 4 or 6 months a year in Brazil to train and do mundials, and I'd run into him at those events and talk to him there, and he kind of remembered me from the seminar. And then 2006, I think the year I got bronze, he came up and complimented my first match. I had a match that was too exciting for my taste, but I really hyperextended a guy's arm and popped his arm, and he didn't tap, and tucked his arm in his belt basically, and then I got his other arm and got him to tap on it with 2 seconds left.
That's what I'm talking about, man. Those are the days, right?
I was down on points, and that was the first match, and then I had a run of, I think I won 5 more matches, and then lost to Serginho in the semis, where I think 1 year. I think it was Serginho won. I can't remember who got second. Maybe Chiyoshiko got second that year.
Chiyoshiko?
Yeah.
Felipe Pena's brother.
Yeah, he was good. He was good, dangerous. Yeah.
He's one of my best friends, Alexandre's. We were at his brother's wedding, and Chiyoshiko was there, and he's like, yeah, his last name is Mascarenhas. He's Mascarenhas lineage because he has a kind of similar style, submission heavy, movement based, Yeah,
I always wanted to get a match with him, but he was very dangerous. First person I really saw doing collar drags. From
Alexandre style. It's Mascarenhas, totally his style.
Yeah. So anyway, so with Marcelo, I would talk to him down there, and then I went with. I was at 2006 or 2007 Pans with Dave Camarillo. And we, sat next to Marcelo. We were talking, and then he invited us to go help him train for 2007 Abu Dhabi. So, Dave Cam bought me a plane ticket, and the two of us went out there. We stayed for 2 weeks with Marcelo just to train twice a day, and it was the two of us, Fabio Gurgel, Tarsis Humphreys, and just a really small group training at the old Studio X, and so we're training, hanging out. That's really where we
Studio X
kind of became friends. And then we stayed in touch after that. And at some point, he moved to pursue a little MMA for a year or two in Florida, and then he moved.
Did he fight MMA?
He never did. Yeah. Or
He was training for it.
Excuse me. He fought once. He fought and lost to a Korean fighter that, he had like 3 or 4 or 5 fights or something like fall through at the last second where opponents backed out or the organization, changed something. But he went through the whole fight camp, and then they offered him, a fight, different weight class, and he's like, just get it over with. If you watch the fight, like, I think he pretty clearly like won, but he took a knee and got a big cut open up in the second round. They stopped it from the cut. Yeah.
It was funny, right? Like, not funny, but those days, like there wasn't a lot of opportunities to make money, to make income. If there was a tournament somewhere in the U.S. that you can make a couple $1,000s, like everybody went there, right? Yeah. And so you had to fight, you had to go down that route to be able to make a living.
Yeah, I always expected that after I got my black belt that I would fight MMA or something, and I never wanted to. So it was just like, oh, if I'm going to keep doing this is like what I have to do.
What you have to do.
And then I started getting like coaching opportunities or teaching opportunities where I was like, okay, maybe I don't have to like fight and get hit. I got some knee, you mentioned in the run up, but I had like a really, really bad knee surgery kind of ordeal where I got a staph infection from the surgery and like went into the bone, and it was like a pretty life-changing event to try to work through that for a couple years to get healthy again. And then by that point I was like, I don't think I can like do the training to fight, so I'm gonna have to figure out a way to do something just with jiu-jitsu.
Mm-hmm. Yeah MMA's but that was the path, right? You got good at jiu-jitsu, you want some stuff, and then you would fight MMA.
Yeah, and I don't know, it's definitely changed now for the better, and like there's a lot of sports science even behind like periodization, and but I remember Claudio would say like if you're going to do jiu-jitsu full time, you have to be ready 365 days a year because there's not a lot of money, and
Claudio
you have to be ready. They tried to get me fighting Jungle Fight one time, like when I was a purple belt. I remember they called me in the office and were like, there's a
that's how it was. That's how it was.
Call.
Like directly, guys. Like they would some random event in Japan or some crazy hard fight thing, 3 fights in one night somewhere in the U.S. and then the guys would just be ready all the time.
Yeah,
like New York, the Henzo guys like Matt Serra and Ricardo Almeida.
Yeah, I mean that's really like how Marcelo made his name. He was like he lost the Abu Dhabi qualifier to Daniel Moraes.
That's right.
And then and then he got the call up as an alternate last minute and
beat Shaolin, beat Henzo.
Yeah. Yeah, Olaf maybe, whatever there was that kind of Scandinavian guy was really or Otto Olsen maybe was that?
I think so, yeah. Otto. Yeah. It's been so many years, right? Yeah, so many guys.
Mike Van Arsdale.
And that was the beginning of his run.
Yeah.
After that. His name got out there after that.
Yeah. I mean, you could see it wasn't a fluke, right?
He choked out Shaolin, right? Like unconscious. I remember that.
Yeah.
That video. And it was before Instagram, right? Before.
Quick. Yeah. It was like the first sequence of the match, essentially. I think he kind of like arm dragged to the back and just went right to the rear naked choke.
Yeah. You so then you going back. So you went out there with Dave to New York, and then how did you end up staying?
We just stayed for like 2 weeks or 10 days or something.
We're moving there.
So then I opened a gym in Santa Cruz with Garth Taylor.
Kaijin, right?
Kaijin was originally, now it's Garth Taylor Jiu-Jitsu. I changed the name. But yeah, so I opened that gym with Garth.
I remember Ken. I remember I loved the logo, and Ken, Ken Katagwa?
Yeah, of course.
Trains here, yeah. So he's like, I made that logo. I'm like,
yeah,
makes sense.
Yeah, totally. And I started teaching. I started a program at Apple's headquarters in Cupertino, and Ken was a student there, and so that's how we got connected. And then I was starting this gym with Garth and asked him to do the logo. So but so I think I was there a year and a half or 2 years with Garth, and then Marcelo offered me a teaching position, or they brought me back out actually in 2009. To help be a training partner for his Abu Dhabi run there. And, I think to see if I was going to be a good fit
for
the school. And they hadn't like officially opened yet. They were kind of in a different location, but had the same, kind of group, and we're getting ready to open a school with Josh Waitskin. And
could you give a background, because I read his book right before that school. I think he had the book out before that school. I knew about him.
The Art of Learning.
Art of Learning.
Yeah, I read that book.
The next Bobby. It was the next Bobby Fischer.
Yeah, that was like what they were.
But Bobby Fischer was like one of the chess champion in the 80s or.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah,
and he was a prodigy kid, right?
But kind of went nuts, right? And I think Josh kind of like took a healthier path for him. Stopped playing chess, got into martial arts, got really into martial arts, and now he's into foiling and surfing and stuff. So
yeah. So how did that happen with him and getting involved with Marcelo?
I don't know, to be honest, like how it originally happened, but I think he was
because he built it was like the best training website. Like
yeah.
Like I think going back again to everybody getting the X-Guard VHS tape. Like everybody was on MG in action.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
like if you did jiu-jitsu, you were studying, and it was cool because he had people in the gym training before the matches.
He showed everything too.
He showed everything.
And it was always his perspective that like. If someone's going to study my game that much, it's probably going to make me, it's going to benefit me because they're studying what I do instead of like
they're going to be behind me,
focusing on what they're going to do. I'm going to be better at my game than them. But yeah, I think Josh he had previous experience like building a learning platform for chess, and he tried to apply that that same kind of model to MG in action. So it was a mix of like teaching techniques and then pulling from real training and so you can see in a really in a searchable way like those techniques being done under pressure and so I don't know how they originally connected. I think Josh was training with a different professor and was doing private lessons or something with Marcelo, and then they connected, and he became a partner in the gym, and at that time was super focused on training on jiu-jitsu also, and really involved in the MG in action and that aspect of learning, and then kind of how to, I think, bring jiu-jitsu into using it as a vehicle for continued like performance and learning in like different settings, like working with executives and athletes, and it gives it makes like a lot of what the learning that he would that he talks about or that he's an expert in like more tangible when you have this kind of whatever activity that that you can go deep in, and that's like you have to be focused and engaged with, and it's like jiu-jitsu is like one of the things that you can just reliably find that kind of flow state with, right? Like surfing or something, but it's always available. You don't have to.
Yeah, going back to what year did you move to New York?
2010.
2010. Man, the years go by so.
2010. Yeah,
because
I moved back here last year.
So you were there for 15 years?
14
yeah.
and change. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember because I moved from New Mexico 2006, 2007 because my son was born in 2007. And I remember talking to Quinn just about you because you were I think maybe were you debating at that point, or maybe it was just after when I go out to visit New Mexico.
Yeah, maybe I was still kind of debating.
Yeah, and then he was telling me like they would hear from you moving out there and how it was going, and you were like teaching like crazy, teaching someone like all the classes, not all the classes, but most of the classes. Yeah, for a lot of years, holding it down really for the school.
In the beginning, it was just me and Marcelo, and then we had another instructor, Inhiki Hasinji, who he teaches in London now for Alliance, and then we had Batista, and then Thomas Lisboa, and then Bernardo Faria.
Yeah.
It was awesome, and then we had at that point, like the guys that had started with us at lower belts were basically becoming like having a lot of success at brown belt. There's like the brown belt dream team.
Yeah,
they're
brown
getting
belt
their
dream
black
team.
belts, and so then they were, they'd been working as assistant instructors and stuff at the school. So at that point, they were ready to teach full time. So, no one else was like being brought in. It was just like everybody was kind of being brought up through the system of the gym.
What are some key takeaway from that period of time of seeing these guys come up, the brown belt dream team, right? To see these guys, homegrown, right? Homegrown guys, being the best in the world.
Yeah, it was something I was super proud of at the time. That I had a part in it. It was like we had a very team oriented approach. So it was like I was never, I felt like I had a good role on that team to help them and especially when they were just coming up and like help their fundamentals and help kind of shape their approach to jiu-jitsu. And then, but obviously they're there training with Marcelo every day, and like and Marcelo's approach is very, like, I feel like it's very adaptable. Like he's very precise in his techniques and the way things fit together, and he kind of wants and demands that you also become precise and systematic in your approach and organized in your approach, but he doesn't necessarily, you don't need to do the same stuff that he's doing. He just wants the approach to be organized and understand why you're doing things, and like but at the same time he's very adaptable, like most, I think like
great coaches,
whether you kind of all end up at the same place, like because the training is really and shaping how athletes relate to their training, like how they train, how they can use training to get better. So it was cool seeing that generation of students like kind of take ownership of their own jiu-jitsu and then get better at it, and watching like Marcos Tinoco go from, like guy with a really good guard and dangerous guard to like, I think probably the most technical spider guard in the world at that time. Or, Manshur Kara, Munchie had like
and there were so many people.
He had
like
a really cool take on X guard. We had this guy Joel Borges, who, in my opinion, was the best, or right on par with the best at the crucifix. So, but looking back, I also.
He's right. I just had a name pop in my head, Dylan Dennis.
Dennis.
Was in the mix of those.
Man, yeah, Dylan Dennis is in the mix. Man, Dylan is very, very good at jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
He was I'm sure he's still good at jiu-jitsu, but like he was
He's a part of that crew.
He's definitely part of that crew. Yeah, he was a part of that time.
That time.
He was good. Yeah, he was really good. It would have been cool to see, like, if he would have
continued on with jiu-jitsu,
see where he could have gone.
Yeah. Marcelo Garcia, what you said a few words, but what do you think? What makes Marcelo Garcia special?
I just think his mind, like, he's so he approaches things with like a different perspective, but a different kind of clarity, and it's not. He doesn't take anyone's word on anything. He wants to figure things out for himself, find what works.
Questions everything,
but like, retains things that work and makes them fit together. And like, he mentioned like at the seminar that he taught last week that he got good at the back and taking the back because everyone was turning their back when he was passing the guards. So like, okay, I have to like figure this out. So like I think he's stayed very, just saw the sport with kind of fresh eyes, and saw
like a student, right?
Saw like what was important. But I think most of his jiu-jitsu like really comes from him. It's not like you can say, like, I think, a fault of mine was like probably overstudying other athletes, which, I kind of made the decision pretty early on. I was going to focus on teaching. Just I had the physical stuff going on. I was like, even jiu-jitsu, I don't know if I'm going to be able to fully commit to being a competitor, and with the health stuff I had happening. So I was focusing on teaching. So I wanted to develop this like breadth of techniques to be able to help whatever athlete. Whereas instead of kind of really focusing brick by brick, making sure that the game fit together and, you know, not taking anything as gospel from anyone,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, you look at the way Marcelo's game all fits together. It looks like, you know, some math equation where it's like very discrete and very, you know, but at the same time, it allows for a lot of flexibility. You know, like there's all these funnels that, you know, you see the importance of front headlock, the importance of upper body control when you're taking the back, the importance of good hand fighting, the importance of like knowing how to get to the legs when you're on the feet, attacking the legs if someone, you know, trying to at least connect to the legs if someone's standing versus connecting to the upper body if someone's on their knees. Like these kind of base level heuristics that are part of the meta now that are taken for granted. But he was really the one that I think made those so explicit.
Yeah,
you know?
he changed the game. from back in the VHS tape days with the X guard thing.
Yeah,
that was
or even the seatbelt, right? Like the importance of the upper body in the back control. You know, I mean, there was people who did seatbelt adjacent stuff and seatbelts, but it didn't have the focus that it had.
It's hard to keep track, right, of all the things, where it came from, where you learned things from. But Marcelo Garcia, I think, in all of almost everybody's jiu-jitsu, he has a piece of that, you know.
100%, yeah, 100%,
right?
Yeah, yeah. Roger too, you know, like I mean, for me, still the only like their games were also so complete. They had the right mix of like offense and defense, and you know, taking their game and forcing their opponents to play it. But like, I still don't think, at least in my perspective, like I've seen anyone other than like Marcelo, Roger, and Hoffa like achieve that level of kind of integration or perfection of their game. You know,
complete game.
Yeah. But I mean, maybe I'm dating myself too, because, you know, obviously, you know, Pato and Mika, and,
of course,
you know, this new Cade and Ty and all those guys are incredible. But it's like, also you know, that like Hoffa and Marcel or something. Like, look at how many matches they lost during their reigns, and you see a lot of the current guys. Like maybe the competition is closer, maybe, but like, you know, they'll drop a match as like Marcelo could win by, or like Terere. You know, Terere would. I kind of don't put him on that same list for my own personal list, because like the no gi wasn't, you know, I think on par with his gi game.
Right.
But
it was before, it was like pre-gi matches,
like
gi tournaments, right?
And that's probably because he didn't have the opportunity to really like develop it. But you know, there just wasn't, you know,
Did you watch his movie?
No.
The HBO movie?
No.
The Fascia Preta, the black belt?
No.
You have to get like a VPN kind of to watch it.
But it's about Terere?
Terere's life.
Wow.
It's done really well.
Yeah, no idea. But yeah, I was a huge Terere fan. But you know, like he would win like 2004 Terere. Like you kind of just had to go in and choose, you know, how you wanted to lose. Like, cause he'd let you lose by advantage sometimes, or by points, or submit you. It's just like depended on how you wanted to play him. He would just stay ahead the whole time. If you really wanted to come out of your shell, he'd get a submission. If you wanted to just, you know, sit back, but he wasn't losing. He wasn't dropping matches during that time. You know, same thing with Marcelo, same thing with Hoffa. Obviously same with Roger, but Roger was, you know, submitting just about everyone. Like Marcelo was submitting just about everyone too. It's like if there wasn't a submission, it was like it was because they ran out of time.
Yeah. Your top 5 jiu-jitsu guys of all time.
In the gi? I don't know.
Okay, you can mix it up. I just think of
top
jiu-jitsu
5.
as you can be gi and no gi, like all together.
It's
all
the same
together.
thing. Yeah, it's the same. Hickson, Marcelo, Roger, Hafa, Terere. For me.
Yeah. That's really good.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then you can't say gi or no gi, right? It's like completely like a Mika, right? Doing it.
Yeah.
Gi and no gi.
Mika's incredible. Yeah.
Yeah. What a time, man. What a time. How many years have you been training now?
I started in 96.
96.
Yeah. 96, 97.
So almost kind of 30 years, right?
Yeah. Getting there. Yeah. I took like almost 2 years off from my knee thing. You know, I took like a year and a half.
Yeah.
Or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I had to start back slow and, you know, had some setbacks, but yeah.
I wanted to just mention Garth Taylor, you know, shout out to Garth Taylor. Like he was there was like a handful of guys, right? Medaling at the Worlds, you know?
Yeah. He won as purple.
Won a purple.
96 or 97.
Yeah, yeah.
Like
So
that.
one of the first world champions, right?
Yeah.
And then, man, I remember like I forgot, was it 2000? He was almost the same year as BJ.
He almost won. Yeah, he got.
He was winning, and I was cheering for him because, you know, he's an American.
Yeah.
And, I was like, and then like he got
swept him out
to
by
Mount.
Marcio Corletta.
Yeah.
Who won that year. Yeah. Corletta was very good too. A great guard. Yeah, big guy, almost like a little Pijupano or something.
But a lot of people don't know about Garth Taylor. And
he was one of the first to really, I think, like integrate. Like his game also looked like, if you were to look back at it, would be pretty modern. You know, like he had a good butterfly guard, good half guard. So for a big guy, he was really athletic.
Mm-hmm.
You know, his brother Mark was a pro surfer. So, you know, he had like a good athletic base, wrestled in high school, wrestled at a junior college, and then was, you know, great guard passing. I kind of approached guard passing even in those days as more like he would talk about it more in like wrestling terms, you know, like almost like you're taking shots and like hand fighting, you know, the way that you see is like the new thing now is like, you know, understanding how to hand fight from top when your opponent's playing seated or, you know, I mean, that stuff has been around in different iterations.
Like the Rutuli brothers, right? They're like good wrestlers too, right?
The Rutolos?
Yeah.
They're good. I mean, they're good everywhere.
Yeah, right. But just, you know, it's like and all the kids, it seems like the new generation, and it's like everybody's really good at everything.
I think
from
that
wrestling
the Tackets are really technical wrestlers too. You know, like I don't know if they wrestled per se, but you know, the level of wrestling that's got into,
grappling.
Yeah, I think like the Rutolos get to work with like Daryl Christian and stuff, who's probably the best wrestling coach I've ever been around. Just watching him, you know, like watching his techniques, it seems so far ahead of what kind of everyone else is doing in terms of wrestling for grappling and MMA.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You mentioned about having to leave. So how was it leaving New York after all those 15 years in the Big Apple?
Yeah, it was
because then during the pandemic, right? Like, did Marcelo leave or did he move?
Marcelo left during the pandemic. Yeah, he left.
So we saw each other at the airport.
Yeah, I saw you at the airport.
You were going to Hawaii.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what's going on? I was like, oh, I'm actually going to Hawaii. And I'm like, oh, what?
Yeah.
What's going on?
And it was like pretty early in the pandemic, I think. And it was, I just remember there's no one in the airport. I didn't see anyone. It was like JFK was empty. And I saw you walking around. Like on your way back from Brazil, or on your way to, or on your way
something
from
like that.
Brazil, yeah. But so I left, but I went back. So I went back to New York after the gym, or after the pandemic, after we were able to open.
Yeah.
Just to help get the gym going again, because Marcelo stayed in Hawaii, and with the intention of coming back, and he did come back, and then. They decided, like, for their family that, you know, it was better off in Hawaii, like, for the kids and stuff. So so I stayed, I think, another year, and but it was hard. I really love that gym, and I love New York, and I love like, not what you know, New York's obviously an amazing city, but like I love the I have so many friends there, but also I love like the ocean there in New York. I felt like really lucky to be part of so many different like groups and communities there. But surfing is something I miss the most, which is, you know, I'm in California, so I actually probably got to surf more out there. You know, I'd be at the beach 3-4 days a week, chasing waves around up and down the coast in New York.
In New York.
Yeah, waves are great there. Yeah, or they can be. Yeah, you gotta know where to look for them, and then the fishing and going upstate. It was like, it really felt like home. I think after a year or two of being out there, I was like, what am I doing here? This doesn't feel. And then I got a car. I started going upstate. Like, figured out how to reconnect with nature and not just be in the city all the time. And became one of my favorite places I've ever lived.
Nice. You know what, Tusa? You know Tusa?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. They had a nickname for you.
Oh, Shakira.
Hips don't lie.
No, it was,
all the Brazilians are like, how did that happen?
I had like blonde hair at the time, like super blonde hair. So, and I was like,
they call you Shakira. I'm like, who's Shakira? He's like, oh, Paul Schreiner. I'm like, oh.
Yeah, that was like the blue belt nickname. Yeah, it kind of stuck. So
back in Brazil.
Yeah. So I went to Brazil to stay with Scotty originally.
Scotty on the mat.
Yeah, Scotty on the mat. And I think I stayed there for like a month or maybe 2 months. And then I was like, I got to learn Portuguese. It's all these dudes who, you know, were obviously like, it was a crazy house at that time. It was me, Scotty, Eric Owens, who owns Mushin. It's a great martial artist.
Does the stuff with GSP, right?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, and then and Pete the Greek. Yeah.
Kevin knows Pete the Greek.
Yeah.
He has one of his wrist lock the world rash guards. What a journey, huh? 30 years of you've been there since those early days.
Yeah.
What a time. And then you were part of the New York Marcelo Garcia. That was I mean, that influenced the whole world.
Yeah.
From back then and till forever now, right?
Yeah.
All those
now I'm
things.
just trying to catch up and stay current.
Yeah, appreciate you, man. Appreciate your contribution and you as a person. And it's when I don't know how it happened, where you came out here to LA to visit that one time.
Yeah, I forget.
Is it Bernardo Faria or something?
When I did the seminar here?
Yeah.
I think we just talked and you invited me out.
Yeah. So I've always appreciated you. Appreciate you, man. Appreciate your approach, how you think about things.
Yeah, thank you.
And I look forward to all your success.
Yeah.
At Frogtown and beyond. Your family coming up.
Yeah. Yeah, that's gonna be. It's scary. I'm excited. We're super excited though. Yeah, but we don't really, or I don't really know what to expect. You know, I'm a little older than I thought I'd be to be a dad, but I think I felt like I was never ready for it before, and like things.
You're never ready for it, right?
Yeah, I feel like things have just like aligned kind of perfectly now, though. So yeah.
Awesome.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you, brother. Thank you. How can people find out about Frogtown?
There's a Instagram. I think it's Frogtown JJ. The website Frogtown JJ, and you can if you know me, also you can reach out to me directly.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Cool. Thank you.